WDON1204.com. Community focused, globally connected. Find us online at Coleman Global. WDON is proud to present our latest podcast, The Colors of Sound. Our mission is to create a safe space for community members from around the world to share their personal stories. Listen on all streaming platforms or on our podcast station, WDON1204.com. The Colors of Sound podcast. Discover how much we have in common. Hey, everybody, this is Timothy Stone Dancer Coleman. Welcome to another episode of the Colors of Sound podcast. I'm so excited to have one of my dear friends with us today, Miss Shanda Johnson. She is the founder and CEO of the Rick Miller Foundation. I've known Shanda for a while. She's an amazing servant, doing so many things for the community of New York City in every single borough. So I want to, without any further ado, read a little bit of her bio, get you guys familiar with who she is, ask her a few questions, and give her an opportunity to share her work, her love, her passion with the rest of us. All right. So Shanda Johnson Shanda Johnson has a hunger to alleviate hunger. As the founder of the Rick Miller Foundation, she's a one-woman food insecurity relief operation and embodies the term humanitarian entrepreneur. Working in partnership with Whole Foods, Chipotle, Longhorn Steakhouse, KFC, Insomnia Cookies, SSP Restaurants, Red Lobster, 7-Eleven, Olive Garden, and the Bowery Mission, to name a few, she supplies food and other essentials to seniors, domestic violence survivors, and others throughout New York City's 5 boroughs, on top of having a full-time job as a crime victim advocate in Queens. Shanda founded the Rick Miller Foundation in 2016 to honor her father's memory and charitable acts. She says, "I recall having a conversation with my dad about us being able to pick up KFC donations. I thought, wow, we made it. We're now helping and feeding the community." The 500 Men organization recently recognized Shanda with their Contemporary Giant Award. Officer Dilla, whom she met at a church event, was the first to encourage Shanda's ambition to make a difference. Without any further ado, I want to introduce you all to the lovely, the talented, and the amazingly giving Shanda Johnson. Shanda, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi. Of course, I'm happy to be here. I'm so excited that you have this platform to allow all of these amazing people to use their voice. This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. So, obviously we know each other, and I could tell the world a million things about you, but I always think it's more important for folks to hear it directly from the source. So before we talk about how you arrived at the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated, I'd like to take folks back just a little bit, right? We've got 50 years of hip hop and what was born and raised in the Bronx. So I want to talk to you about, where you were born, how, what was your experience as a child growing up, and kind of what was your view of the world, through your formative years?
I grew up in Queens. I growing up in a household with my parents, and I have 2 older brothers, a younger sister. My dad was a very generous person. I thought everyone's parents was like that. I didn't know that everyone didn't have all the neighborhood kids coming to the house, like eating. My mom would make food. I thought this was normal. I didn't know until I went to other people's home, and then I said, they don't have a lot of food in their house.
Wait.
That was a reality for me.
It's breaking up again. It's breaking up again. We might have to to take the video off and just let the audio happen, because you're saying some really great stuff, and I don't want people to miss it. I don't want anyone to miss it.
Got it. Yep.
Okay, so you grew up in Queens. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I grew up in Queens, and from childhood memory, all I could recall was my dad just embracing all of my friends, and everyone would come to the house, and my dad would buy groceries, and we would eat, and it was just like an open door home. And I thought that was normal, that everyone, when you go to everybody's house, you would get fed, you would get all of these things, and it wasn't that. I realized that when I started to go outside and visit some of my friends, and they didn't have anything to eat in their house, and they didn't have all of this freedom to invite everyone in and say, hey, how many people want ice cream and how many people want a sandwich? And then I realized that it's a problem. And I
Right.
didn't know what it was, but I knew something was wrong, that I had food and my friends didn't have a lot. Not that they didn't have food, but it wasn't so readily available the way it was at my house and the way that my father was in making sure that everybody had, if one person had a sandwich, everybody had the same sandwich, the same amount of meat. We've always had options. If someone wanted like a peanut butter and jelly, they had it. If someone wanted a turkey and cheese, my father made sure that everybody had what they wanted. So that is the environment that I grew up in. A very loving household, a very giving household. My mom was always involved in everything that we did growing up.
Hmm.
So that's what it was. And I think my inspiration for being who I am today came from my father at a very young age. Just seeing him every time Christmas came around, there was giveaways. He would pack up toys and go to the projects, go to Brooklyn, go to Far Rockaway and give out toys. Thanksgiving, he would collect turkeys. And so I saw that. I can't, from when I'm very young, I just always was around my father and my mom just being providers and givers and without even second guessing anything. So,
That's
that
amazing.
that was my upbringing, very, very beautiful upbringing.
It is beautiful, and I love how you were able to identify the differences um in the things that you saw, right? And to
Yeah.
know that even though you had the way that your parents entertained or the way that your parents treated other folks, that's not available in everyone's home. So I feel like, as you kind of found your path, were those the kind of images or memories that kind of fueled you forward?
Yes. Yes, I always said when I was young, I mean, the jobs that I've always had something to do with helping people. I can't recall a job that I secured in my lifetime that didn't work around supporting the needs of others. So I would say that seeing that my father and the presence that he had in the community, that definitely inspired me to do that in my own life. And I've been blessed enough, even when I was younger, just to always have people give me things. Even if it was like 10 pencils, I was able to go to school and be like, I got pencils for everybody or
Yeah.
anything. Like I was just, always blessed to have things, but I didn't connect it yet because I was so young. I didn't know, but I knew that if I could help, this is what I wanted to do. I didn't know the capacity, but I
Right.
always knew in my heart that I was going to help people. Young, old, it didn't matter. I just like the feeling of people feeling happy about not having to worry. It's like the worst feeling in the world.
That's really powerful. I mean, you had a spirit of compassion from
Hmm.
a very early age. So as you kind of set your goals for life, like what, is this what you always wanted to do? Did you, like some kids, you ask them what they want to do and they say, oh, I want to be a fireman. Like what were you setting out to do prior to finding this purpose?
I always wanted to become a teacher.
Mm,
It just got so I was so obsessed that my father, I went to a Catholic school and they were throwing out the desk. I probably was like maybe 9, and my father went and got the desk and put it in my room, and I had like rows, like six
mhm.
desks, and I had the kids come in my room, and I was young and I was teaching them. I don't know what I was teaching them, but I was doing something up there. You couldn't tell me I wasn't a teacher. I had a blackboard. My parents gave me everything. I was giving out loose leaf folders. When I think about it now, it's so funny, but my room was a classroom. And I was
Nice.
young, but the kids would come in and sit in the desk, and it's just something that I don't know, I just felt that helping is
Mhm.
always the answer. You
Mm-hmm.
help others before you help yourself because it's reciprocated. It's just a feeling of passion that you do, and you will get the results when it's time.
That's
Nothing
right.
is, yeah, nothing is done just to get like hey, that's great. You do it because you are chosen to do it. You're
That is
chosen to do the work.
That's super powerful, right?
Yeah.
Some people, because we all know humans who are doing certain things for with different motivation and with different intentions. But when it's so deep inside the heart, one of the things that as you're talking, one of the things that came to me was that you grew up in kind of a masterclass of service, right? Like maybe you
Yes.
didn't process it that way, but you were seeing how your father moved in the community and how your parents together helped other people. Can you give folks just a little bit more background about your father, Rick Miller?
So my father, outside of him being a community person, my father was an officer, and during this time, he worked in different areas, and he saw the need for change. So when my father retired, he started the NYPD, the Explorer program, and he was in Brooklyn. And this, what I saw him do was phenomenal because my father would do all of this work during the day, and then he got this big blue and white van and had, New York Explorers on it, and he would pick the kids up and tutor them and mentor them and do all kind of stuff with them. And I thought, when I saw this, I knew that somewhere along the line, I kind of wanted to do something like that. I
Mhm.
just didn't know. I didn't know where I was going with anything, but I knew it was something because I saw my father's passion, and I love children. And I feel like my father saved a lot of children by just sacrificing his time and putting it where it belonged.
And
So,
so and so what was that moment, right? Like a lot of people have um like one defining moment that changes them over, right? And I say change over because I've been watching too many superhero shows, but you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like that
yes.
that kind of set the trigger and said, now is the real go point. What was that moment for you that really said, okay, I need this to be full time?
I think seeing my father spend his last dollar when he used to take the children to You Can Go to College. He had this program running, and he would take the kids to these to black colleges and out of state, and he would get money. And he said none of the kids ever come with food. And I said, what do you mean they don't come with food? He said the parents don't have money to send them with food. They have sponsors, but they never had pocket change. They didn't have anything. And I said, how can kids not have food? That's
Mm-hmm.
essential. How, I mean, I can see, kids asking for things that are like, but food. And
Right.
that was it. Hearing my father tell my mom at night, like I used to listen to him talk and say, how these kids don't have food? How they come on a trip with candy?
Right.
And I
Right.
said, no, no, that's it. Because my father was getting stressed. He was getting
Right.
stressed about it.
Right.
And I said, no, something has to change. I,
Because
I, I have to do something to help my father. And then I got KFC through my job. They were doing like volunteer opportunities. And one day I said, if I can do this on the weekend, can I do it? And they told me yes. And that would have changed everything. And that's why I say in the bio, I felt big time when I got KFC, not the healthiest food, but when my father did those college tours, they had buckets of chicken on that tour, and they had a lot of biscuits and the
yes.
macaroni and cheese and French fries.
Right.
They That's all he wanted. My father
See, I
wanted
think
those children to be happy with food.
I love that because I think, one of the things that, at least for us here in New York City, and I know that this is worldwide, right? It's not unique just to our city and state, but it's impossible to teach a child who's hungry because their focus
Hmm.
is on hunger. It's not on two times two. It's not on adjectives. It's not on all of these other things that, we say, oh, well, this child is disengaged, or oh, this child can't learn like the rest of the children. when you whittle down at what the real need is and what the real challenges are, a lot of times we find that there's no food in the home. And so we know it's a reality that a lot of students in New York City only eat when they're in school,
Right.
which is why they have some of these summer programs, et cetera. So in your bio, one of the things that really caught me is when you said hunger doesn't stop, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I want to know, let's take a pause and say, what is it that you do in your day job? What do you do, before you get a chance to really live the purpose of the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated? What is it that you do during the day?
Oh, so I'm the crime victim advocate, domestic violence advocate at a precinct in Queens. So my day starts off helping people victims of crime.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the phone all day, providing resources and supportive listening, and hoping
Wow.
that the person just feels better when we get off the phone. It's all about being patient and knowing how to deal with people when they're going through something that is traumatizing and devastating. And I have to get on the phone and just calm them down and provide counseling services and just give them an ear. And since I've been doing it, I'm proud of myself because I've never gotten a complaint. I've always got a result and a thank you, and you made my day better. Just being a compassionate person. So, my job is a full-time caring position that I have all day.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I do. I service domestic violence survivors and victims of crime throughout New York City.
So then how do you make the shift? Right. So you've got a full-time job and you do the Rick Miller. For those that don't know, what hours are you out helping other people eat and making
Oh,
sure that other folks have food?
okay, so I work 8 to 4. My day starts at 5:30 in the morning. When I get off at 4, I'm going straight to Whole Foods in Long Island. So I'm done three to four times a week with the donation program, like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then on the weekends, Saturdays, I start like 8:30 in the morning. I finish like 5. Yeah.
So where do you find time for your own rejuvenation and healing and meditation? Like where do you find time? Because I can't imagine, right?
Mhm.
Like first of all, what you're doing is very noble. Even
Yeah.
for a day job, that's noble. But then to go from that type of pressurized day job into following your passion even further into being the CEO, founder, ace, you know, queen of the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated, like
Yeah.
how, when you make that transition, that's a lot of energy and emotion that you're putting
Yeah.
out on a weekly basis. How do you recharge?
Um, I think for me, I'm just being able to drive in my car. I think that's when I come off the wall, when I get in my car and I know that I have time for myself because it's just me in a quiet place driving. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the transition just happens in the car because my mind automatically leaves at 4 and it starts at 4:01 and knowing that people are dependent on me. So I think the dependency that I have in commitment to others doesn't allow me to get tired because I
Mm.
know I have to get to them or I won't get to myself. And what I mean is when I'm done with everything and I come home and I take my shower and I, put my music on, light my candles and I'm relaxed and eating something good, I say, wow, job well done. Because I know that a lot of people have one less thing to worry about. And if the
Right.
biggest thing a person worries about is food and waiting outside for me, and I'm talking about seniors and people at the Bowery just waiting for my car to pull up, I have to show up. I never second guess myself being tired. I know I should, but I take a lot of vitamins. Um, and I don't have stressful people around me. I have very good people around me that support me. So
Mm-hmm.
that alone makes what I do a lot better for my soul and it's less stressful for my mind because
Mm-hmm.
I have people rooting for me. So you don't feel like that. You get these text messages, throughout the day, have a good day, take it easy, and it makes you feel good. So it's like a recharge of battery going from, one place, one mental space to another.
Right.
Um, and like I said, it's an obligation to my heart, and it's an obligation to someone else's heart for us to get that beat at the same time. So I
So
feel
I've
like that is it, for me.
right. No, I get it.
Mhm.
And I've been watching your Instagram page
Yeah,
at the Rick Miller Foundation Inc. And I see obviously pretty much every day, where you're picking up food and the lines are like so long, like the need is so great.
yeah.
And I'm wondering, for anyone who might want to begin this type of career and follow this level of purpose, was it difficult to find companies that were willing to donate items, because I know part of what you do isn't just food. Part of it might be toiletries, it might be other other necessities. Was it difficult to How did you even go about that?
So there's a Food Connection Corporation that I'm part of, and anytime they have an opportunity, they call me and ask me, there's a Whole Foods opening, or there's, a Red Lobster in Brooklyn, and they'll give me a call. And of course, the type of person I am, whether I can do it or not, I always say yes. And I hang up and go, what am I doing? But I'll never say no. But yeah, it comes through it comes through a Food Connection. And I because of my consistency in communication, I'm the first person they call.
Hmm.
I've been with them now for over 7 years, and
Oh, wow.
anytime there's a Chipotle opening, you know what I mean? Like when Chipotle opens up, they have a week training class. So you pick up 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. I haven't missed a beat on that. Every Chipotle that opened Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, I pick up at 2 p.m. I get officers to pick up, community people to help me, and then we distribute the food from Chipotle. So anytime there's an opportunity for a restaurant opening, they call me, or a supermarket, like Whole Foods, they'll call me and ask me if I could take it on. So that's how I'm able to secure all of these great opportunities to help out the communities and less fortunate families and survivors every day.
Wow. Wow, it's really powerful what you're doing, and I want folks to know, if they Google your name, and if they Google the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated, they'd be able to see a lot of interviews. You've been on cable access with BronxNet. You've done New York One. You've had articles written about you and the work that you're doing and the people that you're serving. So, with all of that, what comes next? Like, where are you headed towards with the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated?
Well, I want to continue to do the work, and I see myself having my own warehouse and a refrigerated van so that when I get the food, it's able to, like the meat, I can store it better, and I
Hmm.
can have my warehouse, because right now I'm operating out of my garage in my house. And while it's functional, I can't have everyone come here. So, the goal is to have a warehouse, in a less fortunate community, because I want them to be able to walk to me. I don't want them to have the stress to say, I don't have money to get there. I want them to be able to, I want to put it in a place where they can get to me, or I can get to them. And I want it to operate 24 hours, because I don't know if a person that has a schedule with food, I know when
Right.
I'm home, and if I want to get up at midnight and say I want a cracker, I get up. If I want something to drink, I get up and get it. The hunger never ends. Like, people are hungry at 2 in the morning, people are hungry at 2 p.m. So there's no off button with hunger. You don't just cut it off.
Right.
I've experienced a lot of shelters where I had tons of food in my car, and they tell me you got to call back on Monday on, business hours. We don't take food over the weekend. And I couldn't believe that I heard them say that. I rode around my car many, many days with food and called and pulled over Google and all these different places. And they say, no, we can't take that food. We can't take this. We can't take that. What do you have? We can't. No, I'm sorry. We can't. I never want to hear you can't take food.
Right.
That doesn't sound right to me. It
Right.
doesn't sound right. I'm not saying the quality of food. What I'm saying is the ability to have food,
Right.
period.
Right.
Every door should be swinging open. You got food, come. So that made me, that's the drive too. I never want to say you have to come back for food. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. We are re-victimizing the mind of a person that wants food by saying we have food, but you got to come Monday because we can't get to it right now. That's insane. So that's where I see myself as operating a 24-hour warehouse
That's
that
really powerful.
that people can eat just like us. If they say they're hungry, they know that they can come. And you can't turn away hunger. How?
Right.
Yeah, you can't
Right.
turn away someone's hunger. Not now. You can't eat, and then you turn around and can go home and get a sandwich. You kidding me? We're human, all of us. No
That's right.
one's better than anyone else. Our story can be their story tomorrow.
Well, and I think COVID proved that, right? Like I
Right?
think one of the things that I heard a lot from the community work that I do in the South Bronx was that, the Bronx, the Bronx as a whole, but the South Bronx, and I know other places in New York City, was already experiencing a lot of the things that other communities wound up experiencing due to a global pandemic. And I
Yes.
remember the visions that we used to see on the news of people in BMWs and Mercedes and all these fancy cars still waiting in line and for, popping their trunk for people to put food in the trunk so that their families would have something to eat because there were such shortages on this and that. And it highlighted in some of the more disadvantaged communities that everybody's not prepared to fully realize how much crisis is happening in people's lives on a daily basis,
Right.
even without a pandemic, right? And so, one of your quotes was, why should our quality of life be limited or compromised by the quality of food we can afford?
Right.
And so, when you're talking about the places that are donating food, a lot of what you've said, there are a lot of healthy options in the things that are donated. How is that received in the community? Now I know, and I say that knowing people who are hungry and they're going to eat. But how are you dividing up the food? How, if someone shows up, are they eating till they can't eat anymore? Like how do you meter out
Mhm.
what you've got?
Well, I've learned, doing a lot of events that there are people that need and people that want.
Mm, that's
People that
powerful.
need and people that want. It's a difference. I
Hmm.
tell you what, I went to Tompkins Square and I did a giveaway, right? A bunch of people online. The people that wanted took everything. The people that needed took one thing. When I tried to give them two, they told me, no, you give that to someone else. So
Mm,
I learned the difference of saying, you had one, please allow someone else to have. Because in the beginning, I would just give, but then I had to step back and go, some people want, others need. And you can tell the difference. So now I love to give because I get a lot, but I also like to differentiate who's there for purpose,
hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
who's there just to take. Because when
Right.
things are free, people like to take, but you don't need things when you have things.
Right.
So that's where I'm learning how to um, distribute evenly or
Right.
distribute, I would say, correctly to those that need as opposed to those that want.
Wow. And so, I just want to take a quick pause and say to all of the corporations who, if at the very least you know you need a tax write-off, to all of the places
Mm.
that have social good built into their mission and vision and purpose and core values, the Rick Miller Foundation Inc. is an organization that is out here, as you can hear Shanda saying, on a daily basis, ensuring that people have whatever it is that she's able to collect and then drive around and deliver. So, Shanda, I would love for you to, quickly just kind of talk about, how do you know where you're going to go on a daily basis? What do you, do you have a map? Do you make this plan in the morning? Like, okay, today I'm going to be in Queens. Like, how do you know where you're going to be distributing? Are you doing like major events? How does that work?
Well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of times, I'm just guarded by God in my
Mm-hmm.
heart. To be honest, unless it's a scheduled event, I know where I'm going for the day. But I'll be honest with you. When I wake up and I get in the car and I'm headed to Whole Foods in Park Slope or Williamsburg or Long Island, I really don't know where I'm going. A lot of times I've met people and different non-for-profits just by driving by and seeing the awning up on their, in front of the storefront and calling them and saying, I have food. Can I just come to where you are? And
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much, I'm Googling because I like to go to different places and meet different faces. So a lot of times, I have my seniors because they can't get around, and a lot of them don't have family. So you'll see me on my page a lot with all my friends. They're seniors, and I go there because I know that they can't get out of that house, and they're by themselves, and they're in walkers, and where they
Mm-hmm.
live to where they got to go is so long, such a long walk. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a consistent. I go there consistently, but when I go, I give them so much stuff that I don't have to go back for a few days. So like Bowery Mission, I try to get to them, but for the most part, God is the driver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just in the car being guided, and that's how the day goes. It's not so rigid. Um, I don't really believe in schedule a lot
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
times
Mm-hmm.
because I think you reach more people when you don't have a plan because
Right.
you're just going, and it
Right.
and it, it never not worked for me. It
That's
never not
powerful.
worked for me.
That's powerful. Yeah, I definitely want to say again, you all can see the work of the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated on Instagram. There are so many videos of, even when you go to pick up the supplies, the food, the different things, just the vast amounts of things that are being donated. And every time I see a video, it makes me feel great knowing that people are going to get the things that they need, that they should have ready. We should all have readily available anyway,
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah, we should have these things. It shouldn't feel like a prize.
Right.
Like you won, you get bread. It shouldn't feel like that. I tell you,
Right.
I did an event yesterday, right? And I had to get a U-Haul, and I said I was gonna bring this food. I was relentless. I was gonna bring, so much food. I don't know how many pounds I had. Let's say 400 pounds of food from Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there, it was the most rewarding experience because in addition to food, I said, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna go big. I want at least 300 to 400 books because I'm partnered with Book Fairies in Freeport, Long Island, and I got
Mm-hmm.
those books on my lunch break. Tim, I went on my lunch break. I had 1 hour,
Oh my
28
gosh.
minutes to Long Island, 28 minutes back
Oh my gosh.
on my lunch break. Yeah, and I did it. And when I got there yesterday to the event, do you know what it felt like? Forget the insomnia cookies. By the way, the kids love them and all of the food. The most rewarding experience yesterday was seeing these kids go through the books and seeing
Mm.
the parents saying, thank God they don't like to read. It's not that they don't like to read. Teach them to read. Take them to the library.
Right.
Make it accessible. They don't know where they can get books from if you don't show them. I had
Right.
kids coming back 3 and 4 times, and I said, "Wait a minute, are you coming back for another book? All right, take 5." Laughing. But they took 5, they took 10. That was the walk away. If you go on my page, you'll see the smiles on the faces of these children. Priceless. It is the most incredible feeling to see kids pulling books and going, I want another book. I need another book. What book do you have? What you can see in the pictures. I'm not making it up. That was the most rewarding experience I've ever had. Is giving the books, healthy food, healthy mind at the same time.
Right.
At the
Right.
same time, they're taking a healthy snack and a book. They all was set last night when they
That's
got home.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I know that you have another event coming up on August 30th, I believe, at PS 103 in the Bronx.
Yes, that's a giveaway with Whole Foods. And in addition to that, I want to take the time to extend appreciation to Volunteers of America
Mm.
for giving me over 350 coats that
Oh,
I'll be
wow.
distributing at the Bronx. So I'm happy, and I have a lot of gift bags for the teachers and the educators. Because without the teachers, where are we?
That's right. That's
They're
absolutely
they're
right.
the, their family. Those are the second set of parents to your child. And the teachers of New York City and worldwide, globally, need to be appreciated more because of the
Yes.
work that they do. They are parents. Some teachers are parents without children, their own children. They
Yeah.
do such an amazing job. So the next part, I want to just go back to something you asked me earlier about, where do we see the Rick Miller Foundation going? I need to go into schools.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be inside schools. I want to bring all of these resources into the schools in New York City. I want to bring books in. By the van load. I just see myself being inserted and being a fixture in New York City and just being a super resourceful person and being more involved with the children that are less fortunate and don't even understand there is a way out. And there is a lot of people that care and want to see them grow healthier with food and with their mind and with books and with choices and options. It's readily available. People just have to know how to get to it.
That's right.
Everything is accessible in life. It's just getting to it.
That
And I
is
want to make
absolutely
myself
right.
available to everyone all the time.
That's really powerful. Well, Shanda, I thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
I pray many blessings upon you and the Rick Miller Foundation for, all of the things in the years to come. Can very well see someone having space and donating it to the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated. Uh, in terms of the warehouse, I could easily see this last piece you just mentioned about, having a pantry in schools. A lot of schools um, have pantries, but then there are a ton of other schools that need them, and some, for whatever reason, the partnerships don't work, and all the bits and pieces don't happen to work out. So I would love that opportunity, and it is not just a pantry like you have already described of just food. It's a pantry where kids can leave with food for the night for the family and some books to read
Right.
once their tummies are full.
That's right. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Well, we will continue to believe for it. And thank
Yeah.
you so much for your service.
Anytime, anytime. I look forward to coming back one day, and I'm looking forward to this podcast. I'm excited. I just wish you much success with this. I know it's going to be huge because you're such a wonderful spirit, and
Thank
it's
you.
always beautiful to be able to connect with like minds.
That's right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Very
that. And
welcome.
folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Colors of Sound podcast. Our amazing, amazing guest today is Miss Shanda Johnson, founder of the Rick Miller Foundation Incorporated. You can find her on Instagram at the Rick Miller Foundation Inc. Please, if you get a chance, check out what she's doing and don't just be an innocent bystander. Go ahead and donate. Go ahead and give. Go ahead and, even connect her with another resource that is ready to give, because together we are stronger. Everybody have a fantastic day. Thank you, Shanda, for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Share your story on the Colors of Sound podcast. Our mission is to create a safe space for community members from around the world to share their unique stories. Do you have an interesting story to share? Or perhaps a journey of triumph from a challenge that you faced? Do you want the world to know about your talent? Visit our website and complete our guest intake form at WDON1204.com. The Colors of Sound podcast. Discover how much we have in common.